Welcome back to MVM. I'm here today to bring you a look at a new Kickstarter game. This is called Knights of Glory from Blue Gear Games and is on Kickstarter right now. The premise of this game is that you are a group of knights trying to be the first to escape a dungeon in order to prove yourself to the king and become his chief knight. So the main way you're going to play this game is by advancing through tiered levels in hopes of making it from the start to the exit here. Now, I do have a game here already in progress, and of course, this is a Kickstarter prototype, so nothing you see here is final, including these pawns and everything. But when you do set up the game, you're going to lay out a board, kind of like what I have set here. And you're going to see that there is a deck of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 cards. You're going to lay out 2 cards from each tier, and they're going to be face down, so you don't see what's coming. Like I said, in progress, so we do have some of these cards already face up, so you can see what the game looks like when you're actually playing it. But when you start the game, everything is going to be dealt face down. Moving through these locations is the meat of the game. And like I said, there are a few different types of location cards or tiered location cards. All of these cards are going to have the same information. You're going to have the tier level at the top, you're going to have a number of dice you roll on the left side, and then an item icon on the right. And this item icon will make sense in a little bit. But when you are moving into a new location, you're going to have to roll dice in order to pass through that location. So you're going to lay out these locations at the start of the game, and you're going to build the weapon deck. The number of cards that go into the weapon deck is going to change based on the number of players. You're going to put a certain number of cards in per players, and then you're going to deal out 5 to every player. Now, these weapon cards have a variety of different symbols. For one, you're going to see cards like this sword, which is going to directly relate to symbols that can be rolled on these dice. And you're going to have 4 dice here that come with this game, and these dice are going to be rolled every round, and that is how you progress through this dungeon. You're going to have cards that match every one of those symbols. In addition, you're going to have wild cards that can be used for any die. You can use this to substitute any die. The last card you're going to have potentially is a jester. And a jester is a special card. I'll explain how this works in a minute so that you'll understand it. But everyone is going to be dealt 5 cards of these from that deck. You're going to choose one player to be the first player. They're going to get this first player marker set in front of them. If this does not move, play just continues clockwise, but this is to help denote the end of the game because everyone is going to get equal turns. The first thing you're going to do in your turn is you're always going to be moving forward in the dungeon. Now, when you are moving, you're going to be moving to the next tile. For example, the blue player is going to be moving on to this next tier 1 tile. Purple player is going to be moving on to this next tier 2 tile. The red player is the farthest ahead. And if it is the red player's turn, they're actually going to get to reveal the tier 3 tile before they attempt to move on to it. Now you'll notice each one of these tiers has a different number of dice in the center. That is the number of dice you're going to roll, and you're always going to roll these dice when you're moving. So for example, if I had 2 dice symbols, I'd take 2 dice and I would roll 2 dice. The symbols that are shown on the dice, for example here, you'll see a shield and a torch. These are the dice you will need to beat in order to move on to the next tile. There are blanks. If you happen to roll a blank or even multiple blanks, you're really lucky. You just move on. You can ignore those dice. But if I have these dice, I have to beat them. And this is done through a bluffing mechanic. You're going to look at your cards in your hand and you're going to set cards down. You have to match a torch and a shield. Now, I did mention earlier there was a wild card. The wild card can be used to match any of those symbols. So for this example, I could take a shield and I could take a wild card and I could use these and I could place them face down and I could say to the other players, I have a sword and a torch under there. They don't know. I could be using a wild card. I could be completely bluffing. There are a couple other things I can do. That each one of these tiers has a little weapon symbol in the top. If I had a sword, I could play the sword instead of beating a die. In addition, if you have accrued any of these glory tokens, I can, instead of playing a card, I could use a glory token to beat one. Now, each other player has to decide if they think you are bluffing or not. You are given 2 cards at the start of the game that match your player color, and you have a pass or a fail. You're trying to catch players lying. If you think they're lying, then you play the X. If you think they're telling the truth, you play the green. You want to be right here because if you are wrong, you suffer a penalty. So each player is going to play the card face down and everyone is going to reveal their cards at the same time. Once everyone has revealed it, whether they think you're lying or not, then you're going to show your cards. For example, I used the glory token here and I used the shield. So in this case, I was not bluffing. So anyone that said I was bluffing and was wrong, they actually move back one space. That's a huge penalty. So you really do not want to guess wrong with that. However, if you caught someone bluffing, it's the opposite. If I revealed those and I said, I was lying, my turn ends. Anyone that caught me lying gets to move up one space for free. Now, you can never win the game that way. The only way to win the game is to reach the last card and to move to the exit by rolling those 4 dice. You can't catch someone in a lie and use that. On your turn, after you've done your action, after you've completed the dice, you discard any cards that you had used. They go into the discard pile, and then you get to look at what's remaining in your hand. And then you get to decide, do I want to go again? So for example, I might have a couple wilds in my hand. I know I'm guaranteed to beat that. I'll say, you know what, I'm going to go again to the next tile. I'll do the same thing. I'll roll the dice, I'll play my cards. Everyone is going to bid. Same effect. If you caught me, you move up one. If you were wrong and you called me out, you move back one. Now, I mentioned earlier that Jester card, and I haven't talked about this card yet, but the Jester is a special card. It cannot beat any die. The only purpose for this Jester card is to bluff. If you place this Jester card face down in front of you and use it as a bluff, and everyone believes you, and you move on to the next place, you can reveal that you had a Jester in there and take one of those glory tokens. So that is the best way to get these glory tokens. And these tokens will sit in front of you. And as I mentioned in my example, you're going to use these glory tokens to help pay for some of those dice. There is another way to earn glory tokens. You're going to see some cards like this tier 3 card here that shows 1 die normal and 2 dice glowing in blue. What this means is you have to roll 1 die, but you can roll up to 3. If I do roll those extra dice and succeed, not only am I going to move on to the next tile, I'm going to gain a number of glory tokens equal to those blue dice. When you're spending these glory tokens on a die, everyone already knows that you're completing that particular die. If you use more than 1 glory token to complete more than 1 dice, then obviously everyone believes you. You want to kind of try to trick people because you want to move them back. Again, you want to be the first to get there. So special things happen when you reach the end. So say, for example, red was about to move on to the exit card. It is now the end of the game. Whoever reached the end, you're going to finish the round so that everyone gets equal turns. However, at the end of the game, once somebody has reached that exit, those Jester cards are worthless. You can no longer use Jester cards to bluff. Instead, everyone that has a Jester card in their hand is going to reveal it and turn it in again for a glory token. So lots of ways to get those glory tokens, lots of ways you're going to want to get as many of them as you can get. But once one player reaches the exit, the lowest tier card goes away. If you were still on that lower tier, tough luck, you're out. If another player reaches it, another card goes away, and so forth. So that kind of speeds the game up, but everybody only gets 1 round anyway. If multiple people manage to escape, then multiple people are crowned the winner. And like I said, you're going to keep playing, you're going to push your luck until, if you're out of cards, obviously you can't go any farther if you don't have any of those glory tokens, but you're going to go as far as you can, and then you're going to stop. You're going to look at the cards that are remaining in your hand and decide, maybe I want to keep these for next round or not. Either way, you get to discard as many cards and then your turn is over. It's going to go around and each player is going to do the same thing. They're going to move through those tiers, bluffing when they can, rolling those dice, playing their cards, discarding until it gets back around to the first player. At that point, you're going to take all of the cards that were discarded out of the game, you're going to shuffle them up, and you're going to redeal 5 cards to every player. So by this point in the game, you know kind of what cards are in the pool. You don't know what everyone's sitting on, but you'll start to see the discard pile build up, so you'll know potentially what other people have or don't have in their hand, and you can use that to make an informed decision. So this isn't so much a social deduction game of figuring out if another player is lying, but you can use a lot of logic deduction to think about what they might still have in their hand. And the game is just going to continue on like this. You're going to always, like I said, deal out those new cards every time it gets back to that first player. And you're going to do that until at least one player has reached the exit. Triggers the end of the game. You're going to go around one more time. And whoever has escaped, escapes. Whoever is still in the dungeon loses. So you get a little bit of shared victory and a little bit of shared defeat. So that is Knights of Glory. This game is on Kickstarter right now, so go take a look at it. Come back here, ask any questions, leave any comments, take a look at their page and see all the final components. And as always, thank you for watching, subscribing, and liking what we do here on MVM, and I will see you next time.